Well, good morning and welcome to our weekly lesson. So what I decided to do is I've actually decided to go back to the unit that most of you are still kind of completing and kind of getting to the end. And I feel like you just may need some more support towards the end of the unit. The second part of that first unit is around the idea of congruence. And the question I have at the beginning, is congruence the same as similarity? So your learning target ends up being, I can distinguish between the similarity and congruence of two transform figures. So the idea that congruence and similarity do have differences and that they're not the same thing. And sometimes we use those words interchangeably without really understanding the actual definitions and explanations for both of them because they do look at figures a little bit differently than one another. So I feel like having the understanding of what congruence is will help you kind of finish this unit and maybe finish the rest of those checkpoints at the end. So again, this is kind of going back and reviewing the unit. Some of you have already completed, some of you are still working, but I feel like this will be useful for those that are still working. So again, in the engage section, I have a video there for you that shows the difference between similarity and congruence. I encourage you to watch that video. It's a very foundational video that will give you the basics to the differences between these two things, these two ideas, which again is very important as we even move to the next unit and the units after, the idea between both of these. And as you grow in your learning in the years to come in other classes, the difference between these two and the understanding that will help you. And in the explore section, I give you a video to kind of better understand congruence and what congruence actually is, because we have talked about similarity. So the explore section will kind of focus on what congruence is, so we can kind of firm up that idea. And then by the end of this lesson, you can able to distinguish between both of these. The resource I have for you in here is congruence, is that it kind of shows you that if one shape can become another using turns, flips, or slides, and the shapes are congruent. So again, it's kind of like similarity where, you know, they can be rotated, they can be reflected, they can be translated as long as they're the same shape, all right, that they're the same. So similarity somewhat has that definition. As long they can be transformed in any fashion, as long as they're the same shape, then everything is okay. The only difference is for congruence, the shape still has to be the same size, area, angles, and line lengths. We talked about similarity as similarity can be resized. It can get bigger, it can get smaller. And doing that, you still can keep the same shape. You're not changing the orientation of the shape, but you're just increasing the size. That's what we call similar. Congruence, it needs to be the same size, line lengths, angles, all of those things. There's just a little bit more to it with congruence, but the similarities between both of them involve that they can be transformed, they can be moved around, they can be reflected, they can be moved, rotate, all those sorts of things, and those things can be congruent and similar. The difference lies within the idea of resizing it. So think of congruence as equal. The shape has to equal the other shape in every single aspect. Okay, similarity, it sort of has that idea, but it could be a bigger object and a smaller object, and we would say they're somewhat similar. Even though they're resized, they still have the same shape and they're similar. But congruence is around the idea they have to basically equal and be the same thing, including size. So that's kind of the big difference between the both of those ideas. And we kind of sometimes use them interchangeably without really thinking that they are in fact different. So in the explain section, I'd like you to list as many definitions and examples of congruence as you can. What is the meaning from something you learned in the explore section, and kind of firm up that idea of what congruence is. And then go ahead and complete the checkpoint moving to congruence. So again, the end of this unit is kind of focusing around congruence. So hopefully with this lesson, you're able to complete that checkpoint and kind of show that you understand the idea of congruence. And then the elaborate, I thought I'd do something different and do a flip grid, and we've done these before, to justify your reasoning if two figures are congruent or similar. So using the understanding that you learned about congruence and already using the understanding about similarity, can you justify your reasoning for the figures in this flip grid if they truly are similar or congruent? Can they be both? I don't know. Maybe that's something you can justify in your flip grid. And then if you want to comment on another student's post and maybe give some insight, if it's something they did correctly, maybe you can give some encouragement and maybe share another idea, or maybe there's something they need that they were missing, and you may be able to share that with them, with some positivity and things like that. But again, with math, we want to use these literacy skills of justifying things and then be able to maybe even critique other students' work as well. So use that Flipgrid and kind of just share what you're thinking with these idea of congruence and similarity. So hopefully at the end of this lesson, you can successfully say, I can distinguish between the similarity and congruence of two transformed figures. And the questions you ask, are they the same? Are they different? Can they, can you have both with a figure? Can you have either one? And hopefully at the end of the lesson, you can answer those questions again with some confidence. But again, the idea of congruence and similarity do have differences, and we need to establish that. And hopefully by the end of this lesson, you can see those differences and be able to use them effectively from this point on. So again, hopefully this lesson can kind of help you finish this unit. Those that are still working in the first unit, keep working hard. You're almost there. And then this lesson will kind of get you to the end, so we can get you moving on to the next unit. Have a great week, and we'll talk soon.